Sifter for the ear.
News, interviews, reviews, cinema, TV, streaming. Action!
Hi y'all, this is Jerry Williams, aka TV Jerry. Big Scouts, How a Liverpool Lad Built Richmond's Football Culture is a 30-minute documentary focusing on Terry O'Neill, the founder of the iconic Penny Lane pub in downtown Richmond. It was produced by Dead Set FC to highlight his journey from Liverpool in 1979 to creating the best football bar in America. It played once for his friends and footballers at the pub and is now streaming, and I'll have a link to it on the webpage for this show at TV Jerry.
Since this movie has been such a crowd pleaser, it brought the house down at Martha's Vineyard. Like I've never seen an audience respond to a movie the way audiences have been responding to this movie, like from any movie.
That was a clip from today's interview with director Jamal Hodge talking about the reception of his short Take It to the Grave, which will be one of more than 100 films showing at this year's Indie Short Film Festival in Charlottesville from March 20th through 22nd. His other film, Morning Meal, will also be screened, along with the first short from Richmond-based writer-director Kelsey Neri called Repercussions. They'll give us insight into their backgrounds, their inspirations, and the challenges for their projects.
Sifter Review of the Week.
Memory of a Killer on Hulu. Patrick Dempsey is the latest star to play a contract killer, but with two new angles. First, he has a second life as a suburban family man, and second, instead of the usual addictions, he started to experience memory issues. His brother is already in an Alzheimer's facility. This is Dempsey's show, and he's got a handle on the cold-blooded assassin with his cool car, clothes, and demeanor. His approaching dementia only drops in about once an episode, making it more a random threat than a dominating issue. The plot has the expected twist and some clever kills, but nothing's especially original on that front. It's a solid TV crime drama with Dempsey's character as the main attraction. I gave Memory of a Killer 2.5 out of 5 stars. Kelsey Neri and Jamal Hodge, welcome to Sifter for the Year. Glad y'all could be in here.
Good to be
thanks
here.
for having me.
You've both got films in the Indie Film Festival. So Kelsey, you've got one, and Jamal, you've got two. First up, what I would like y'all to do is introduce who you are, tell us where you're from, and how you got into movies in the first place. Why you decided you wanted to be in this crazy world? Yeah, I know.
Oh, wow.
Kelsey Neri. I currently live in Richmond. I grew up in Nova, Northern Virginia. And I've always been a big reader, big movie lover. I used to go to the movies with my mom, and we'd go 3 movies in a day sometimes, back in the 90s. And first I thought I was going to write books, but I took a screenwriting class in college. And sadly, that was the first time I realized movies are made that way.
Uh-huh.
Like, you watch movies, oh, it's just magic. They just appear. There's no planning involved.
And where was college?
I went to Loyola Marymount in Los Angeles. And so I took a screenwriting class and realized, oh man, I love this. This is kind of in line with the way that I write, the way I describe things, and the dialogue, and just how I visualize things is so cinematic. I was acting then too, so I just sort of got exposed to the film industry, and being in LA, it's everywhere. And I spent a few years, working in LA, doing short films, commercials. I worked in localization for 7 years.
Wait a minute, what is that?
So when you think of subtitles and dubs when you're watching a movie,
Okay, right.
localization is those first steps to get that done. So I worked on foreign content that we would script in the original language, translate into English, and then that would be our base to then send it around to different territories. They would do their, translations, or they would do their, subtitles certain ways. And during the pandemic, we moved home because it was a pandemic. And I had a baby. And so more years go by of not doing the thing that I said I was going to do. And finally, I think he was 2.5, kept saying, I'm always telling him, you're going to be amazing. You can do whatever you want. And I can't be telling him that if I'm not also trying to do the thing that I've always been trying to do. And so I got on Instagram, which I always made fun of people for being on Instagram, but it is the way to meet people now. I found people making films in Richmond, and I just sort of pushed myself on people. Hey, I'm going to help you make this film. Around the same time, my neighbor was actually making his own short film. He's a videographer, a wedding videographer, decided, I'm going to make a short film. I had this experience. I wrote about it. I don't know what I'm doing. And then he told me he was doing it. And I said, well, I've done this, so I'm going to help you. And that really brought me back into filmmaking. And that was Well Played. That premiered at Indie Short in 2023. And now I'm here.
And is Repercussions your first short on your own?
It is my first on my own that I wrote and I directed.
Now, Jamal, I know there's more than one first because you've got two in the festival. So tell us the same thing, who you are, where you came from, how you got into this business.
Oddly enough, it's almost like the inverse of Kelsey. Obviously, without the kids and the marriage, without the love. It's the same story without the love.
Oh, man.
I always kind of knew that I wanted to explore new worlds and things like that, even though I grew up in an environment. I was like in extreme poverty, like in the hood, you know what I'm saying, in like the early 90s.
And where was this?
This is in New York City. You couldn't really be like, I like to read. It was hard. It was almost like a thing that you had to kind of repress. Then there was a stint where I was homeless as a child and I was living in shelters and different places, foster care. And the only thing that would keep me from all the abuse and the crazy things that was happening was writing. When I was 16, someone who took me on a trip to this place called DCTV, and I got to the Pro TV program, which is a film making program. And that program really changed my life. It got me into documentary making with John Alper and some of the top documentary makers in the world. One of them who passed recently in Ukraine, we did a documentary about him. It's called Armed Only with a Camera. It's Oscar nominated. It's in the Oscars this year in the short category. So from there, I learned how to kind of like edit work. I traveled. I started seeing that there was people of all colors and creeds that were oppressed all over the world. In Siberia, we lived with the Zapatista rebels. I started to see the power of cinema and what you can do with it and how it could change lives. I went to college and then I started doing films.
And where did you go to college?
It was a small college. It was it doesn't exist anymore. It was like the Gibbs School. It was like this 2-year thing that I did for film because I had already had like a lot of accomplishments. I already had gotten an award from Kofi Annan from the United Nations for work that we did with the Zapatista rebels. And since then, I've won 100 film awards. I've been to Cannes 3 times. So, I've been now just more going into series and doing more work like that. I also am an author. Those are my books covers behind me.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And Bram Stoker Award nominated, which is like the biggest award in horror that you can get as a horror writer.
Cool. Yeah, that's big.
Have some films coming out that we're working on. We have like 5 projects in the can. We have about 18 things coming out in publication this year.
Surprise guest drop in.
I want to talk to you about the films you're going to be showing at the festival. But before that, speaking of the festival, Ty Cooper, who's been on the show before, is back on. He's going to talk about the festival a little bit and tell us what's going on. Ty, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And you obviously, Kelsey and Jamal already.
Yeah, definitely. Very talented filmmakers. That's why they're in the Indie Short Film Festival.
That's right.
Well, tell us a little bit about the festival this year. How's it going to be different? How big has it gotten?
The festival, at first, in 2019, I founded the Indie Short Film Series, which was just a series of 7 to 9 short films. Every other month, people travel from around the country. They come to speak on a panel. Then in 23, I said, okay, it's time to convert it to a full-fledged 3-day festival. That's what I did. The first year, we screened 73 or 76 films. And then the second year, which was last year, we screened 114. And this year, we're screening 131.
Wow.
I mean, yes, that's growth. But I look at growth when it comes down to a festival in a more comprehensive way. What I mean by that is, how are you growing in different areas? Like, are you providing more educational opportunities, such as panels, workshops? How are you treating the filmmakers and the patrons and your volunteers and those kind of things? I mean, I look at everything. That's why I look at growth, not just the number of films. This year is the first year that we have a filmmaker and sponsors lounge. But, we have Caribbean food, the buffet, filmmakers with with their badge, they get in.
Yo, Ty, you got the oxtail, bro?
I'm gonna tell you. And it's all free. And then also this year we have a cinematography workshops. We have Luke Krieger coming in from California. I'm flying him in. And we added more panel discussions. And then also within the festival, which is not going to be seen by people, but we started an initiative called the Youth Internship Pathway Program called YIP. We will have one youth who would be assigned to kind of follow, to kind of like shadow one of the visiting filmmakers. And then that intern is tasked to ask questions about, about the career path and how this person got into it, what advice they have. So they can be hanging out for an hour. And that intern must go to the film that filmmaker has in the festival. Outside of that, that person must go to all the panel discussions, and then they have to do a report, and then that's how they get paid. So that's new too. So
That's
it's about
great.
opportunities, education, and just kind of exposing people to the pathways in filmmaking. We often see the actor and we hear about the director, but they don't know about a boom operator. They don't know about an AC. They don't know about a lot of the different
Right.
pathways in the film business. So I think we could change households. We could change the trajectory of a child just by exposing them to information.
Sure. So Kelsey and Jamal, you're both going to be here to get your student shadow?
I don't know. I think Jamal's got a lot more interesting stuff going on than me.
I volunteer as tribute. I love kids. I love working with young people, and I love
Great.
that.
Well, Ty, congratulations on continued success and some great new innovations this year. And we'll be looking forward to hearing from it next year. Oh, he says.
I do have something that's new. So the festival, this is the first year that we partnered with the School of Visual Arts in New York. So we always have an animation film block, which starts the festival every year. It's the first film block that starts on Friday. But this year, we had about 15 submissions from SVA.
Footnote.
SVA is the School of Visual Arts, a private art school in New York that was founded in 1947.
And then I started watching them. I said, you know what? I need to reach out to them. I reached out to them and I said, hey, look, I would like to form this relationship with your school for the future. So what we have is we have a film block of animations on Saturday. We have the ones on Friday from like just a general submission process and selection process. With SVA, we have an entire film block of 14 animation films. We have this partnership now. So really trying to like form these community partnerships throughout the country for the Indie Short Film Festival to really be seen and recognized by filmmakers as a go-to festival. It takes time for that because we have to cut through the noise. But
Right.
I think we're doing a decent job, and I look forward to getting to that point.
Well, thank you for dropping in again, and good luck he's in the car for y'all who can't see, so good luck getting back home, and we'll look to hear from you next year. Thank you.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hold on 1 second. I'm back. I just came back from LA because my film was in that festival, and we walked away with an award. We walked away with the Programmers Award for Excellence in Filmmaking for the Best Documentary.
We have to get you back on the show to talk about that at some point, too.
Yeah, for sure. I meant to share that in the beginning. I forgot. I'm sleepy.
All right.
But let me go. I got an hour and a half to get back home. So I'll talk
Okay,
to you guys.
drive carefully.
All right,
Bye-bye.
man.
So let's go back since we started with you, Kelsey, and give us the brief nutshell of Repercussions, the movie, what the inspiration was for that, and what was your biggest challenge?
Wow, biggest challenge. It's about a grieving father. He has sort of decided to take the investigation into his daughter's disappearance under his own wing, and he runs into some consequences from that decision. So it's an exploration of his journey and that decision he's made.
And what was the biggest challenge?
So, without giving too much away, we needed locations that could be seen by each other. And obviously, you can't just make that happen, especially on a low budget. So my dream was this road near where I live to get these two places and be able to like talk to the owners and rent them and figure out, or just, get in there and figure out a way to see into kind of a rear window version of like see across the way into this apartment and the opposite. We had to fake that. So It was really just basically working with my DP, how to get those shots, how to see clearly as if we were looking in someone's window and get those visuals that we needed to really make the emotion of it work, because there's not a lot of dialogue in mine. It's all very visual based. And so it was really
Which is ironic considering you're a writer.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I do that a lot. I've realized I write very much visual. Like, there's a lot of visual hints and clues in my writing. Like, you really have to be paying attention. It's like I'm challenging the audience. Like, you got to watch close.
That's what's up.
So that was probably the biggest challenge, and the biggest expense was figuring out locations and how to cheat that shot so that it worked, and set that up in a way that was cinematic.
Yeah. Now, Jamal, you have two movies in this, and it's interesting with both of you. There's a couple things in common. There's surprise twists, so it's hard to talk a whole lot about any of the plots. So we'll have to keep that generic and general.
Get them interested,
But the same thing with yours, Jamal. You've got Morning Meal and Take It to the Grave. Give me a nutshell of each of them, and then what they have in common.
The only thing they have in common is that I'm effed up in the head. That's pretty much it. You're gonna walk away being like, "Yo, what's wrong with this guy?"
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
Morning Meal is based off of a poem from Linda Addison. I took a poem and I turned it into a film. The log line, I think, is a mother's love must be shared. Basically, I can read it. It says, after the tragic loss of her son, Cheryl, a grieving mother, adopts a new philosophy, one that changes her outlook on life and grief, one where suffering has become a dear friend that must be shared. Mm-hmm. Morning Meal is about what happens if you let grief become who you are.
Good way to put it.
That is very thematically similar to Repercussions.
It is.
Absolutely.
I was listening. I was like,
Grieving parent.
Yeah. Now, Take It to the Grave. I don't know if you've seen that, Kelsey, but that goes in a totally different direction. And it's a comedy, too. It's more into a comedy mode, right?
Yeah. Take It to the Grave is basically my attempt at a rom-com. Since I'm messed up in the head, it has some shock elements in there.
Yes, it does.
To say it lightly.
Inverting expectations, too, with that title, rom-com, Take It to the Grave.
Yeah.
I know. Subversion.
Yeah.
The thing for that is on the eve of their big wedding, Carmelo and Dawn both relay the story of how their one-night stand turned into a lifelong love. But an unimaginable secret threatens to unravel the whole affair. Because while both of them are sharing the same story, only one of them knows the truth. Mm-hmm. And why the truth it is, huh, Jerry?
Well, I hope this didn't come from real life, Jamal.
No. But since this movie has been such a crowd pleaser, it brought the house down at Martha's Vineyard. Like I've never seen an audience respond to a movie.
Wow.
The way audiences have been responding to this movie, like from any movie. I'm talking about not indie. I'm talking about Hollywood. I think it's crazy the type of responses it gets from audiences. So the whole point of that movie and the comedy of it was just to show how lies affect relationships, but in the worst way possible.
Well, it's interesting because, like I just said earlier, these all three, you've teased them effectively, so people are going to be dying to see these, and they all three have very interesting surprises in them. So that'll be something to look forward to for everybody. And I want to thank y'all both. Lots of great information here about both of you. You've got interesting careers going forward, and hopefully when you've got your next feature or your first feature or something, we'll get you back on the show to talk about it. That would be great.
That'd be awesome. I can't wait to
give
see
me
the film,
5
Kelsey.
years. Yeah, me, you too.
And y'all are going to both be in Charlottesville, right?
That's the plan. Yeah.
Terrific. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, nice meeting you guys. Thanks for talking.
That was Kelsey Neri and Jamal Hodge, who are showing films at this year's Indie Shorts Film Festival in Charlottesville from March 20 to 22nd. I'll have a link to the festival and more on the webpage for the show at TV Jerry.
Coming soon. In theaters.
Scream 7. Yet another sequel of this popular series, and there'll be an opening night fan event with additional bonus content on Thursday the 26th at 6 p.m. Epic, Elvis Presley in concert. Director Baz Luhrmann started this project when he found never-before-seen footage of some of the King's concerts. It includes footage from his Las Vegas residency in the 70s, as well as previously unseen interviews. Pillion, Alexander Skarsgård stars as a biker who makes a young man his submissive, Harry Melling from Harry Potter, in this BDSM comedy. Dreams, Jessica Chastain plays a powerful American socialite who begins an affair with an undocumented Mexican ballet dancer, Isaac Hernandez. Undercard, When the lives of two New York City artists drastically shift, they discover the power of self-determination and authenticity to combat the era of post-truth. Frankenstein. This is one of several Oscar-nominated films that's back in theaters, and I urge you to see it on the big screen where its grand vision is meant to be experienced. It was my favorite movie of last year.
TV and streaming.
In the blink of an eye on Hulu, 3 storylines spanning thousands of years intersect and reflect on hope, connection, and the circle of life with Kate McKinnon, Rashida Jones, and Daveed Diggs. From Andrew Stanton, noted writer-director of several Pixar classics. Man on the Run on Prime. This documentary follows the formation of Paul McCartney's Wings after he left the Beatles. The Bluff on Amazon Prime. A Caribbean woman gets her secret past revealed when her island is invaded by vicious buccaneers, with Carl Urban and Priyanka Chopra Jonas. Monarch: Legacy of Monsters on Apple. This series about giant creatures has Season 2. Bridgerton on Netflix, Season 4 Part 2 is dropping. And I mistakenly mentioned last week that the Oscars were coming up last Sunday, but they don't come till March 15th. I guess I was just getting overly excited. Next week, we'll meet the directors of Futropolis, an animated stop-motion science fiction film that was shot here in 1984. They are Phil Trumbo, who went on to earn an Emmy for his work on Pee-wee's Playhouse, and Steve Siegel, who left to work at Pixar on Toy Story 1 and 2. This is Jerry Williams. Thanks for listening.
For more Sifter, including literally thousands of reviews,
Visit tvjerry.com.
That's a wrap.